I'm going to kick us off and get us started. It's nice to see everybody. I see some people still joining. Welcome, come on in. I wanted to let you know what we're doing here today, get you set up, and then let some more important people talk, and then we can get some question and answers. So let's quickly talk about the event. We're going to record this. Don't worry, you're not going to appear in the video. We are recording this so that we can share it later on our blog and with other organizers and members so they can get all the same great information you got, even if they weren't able to show up right now. Your audio, we can't hear you, which both makes us sad and also makes it seem like I'm talking into just my computer, which is a little weird. But we can see what you're typing in the chat. So we want to talk about chat and questions. I'll get to that right now, which there's a chat window. You can say hi, you can tell us where you're from. I'll keep an eye on it while we're going. If you can't hear us or something looks weird on the screen, let us know. There's a separate Q&A feature on the little bar in Zoom. If you click that, you can submit questions to us, which we will answer either during the presentation as we can, or afterwards. There's an open question and answer session. We'll answer some stuff out loud. We have an amazing product support specialist here with us today, who's going to answer questions about the product if you have them, or things that that are more rote, so we can answer those sort of in the little answer questions box. So let's talk about what we're going to be doing. Right now, this is the introduction. I don't think it's going to take 5 minutes, but just in case, we have 5 minutes on here. The updates with the product team. We have two fantastic people from our product team. One is a product manager, one is an engineer. I will let them introduce themselves so that they can tell you more accurately and wonderfully who they are. But Alex Loh is a product manager here on our team, and Patrick Datillio is an engineer on our Android team. So they're going to both share something about our product. And in the Q&A session, ask us what you want. If we can answer it, we absolutely will. And if we can't, I will blush. For now, I'm going to turn it over to Alex Loh, our product manager, so you can introduce yourself and share something about what we're doing here. Alex?
Thanks, Dan. Hi, everyone. My name is Alex. I'm a product manager at Meetup. I'm going to start sharing my screen now so we can go over some exciting updates that my team has been working on. All right, so hopefully now you all can see my screen. It says introducing a new way to schedule events. So I'm the product manager on our organizer tools team, meaning that the folks that I care a lot about are all of you on this call today, who I think are probably mostly organizers. So my job is to ensure that Meetup organizers have a really seamless experience creating, managing, and growing their groups on the platform. So I'm very much looking forward to improving and also modernizing a lot of Meetup's existing organizer tools, and maybe even bringing back some old functionality that people have been asking for. And you can listen to the rest of my presentation to know what that is. So I want to do a quick poll to see who is out here listening today. So Cindy, if you don't mind pulling up the poll, can you all let us know if you are an organizer on Meetup, and if you are, how long you have been an organizer? So we'll give everyone maybe a few more seconds to respond. All right, hopefully you all have had a chance to select your response. Why don't we close the poll and actually share the results so we can look at that before we keep going. All right, cool. So we actually have a decent number of people here who are not an organizer. That's totally fine. And then a good mix of how long we've all been organizers. Cool, thank you all so much for sharing that. So I'm gonna go on to our next slide. So I want to talk to you all today about how organizers schedule their events on Meetup. So there are tens of thousands of events hosted on the platform every day. Fireside chats, knitting circles, drawing classes, and a lot more. So regardless of what the event is about, what we've noticed is that some of the most successful events have one thing in common, and that's that their event pages are really clear and organized. So that might sound kind of basic to say, but I'm sure that you all have come across event pages that look some on the left, so kind of a short description. There's not a ton of information shared, which can be okay. But then you also see events that look more like the one on the right, that have a really extensive sort of set of details that are shared, like an agenda, what people need to bring in order to feel prepared for the event, and any other details that might make someone feel more comfortable when they show up. So I want to do another poll here. Apologies in advance. We're going to do quite a few polls during my part of the presentation, but I would like you to all to be super honest here. And if you are an organizer, how many of you are guilty of hosting an event that looks kind of like the one on the left, where the description isn't maybe that descript? And you can be honest. So I'll let everyone take a moment for that while I move on to the next slide. We can keep the poll open though. So I want to talk about some research that my team has done, as well as what other Meetup teams have done over the past couple of years about what information is most useful for members when they're deciding whether to attend an event. And we've used that research to build a new way to share event information and schedule those events on Meetup. So earlier this year, my team picked a small number of groups to pilot a new event page for us, and that's what you see on the screen right now. These organizers were really generous with their time. They shared lots of feedback about this new experience. And on top of all of that, we were running this pilot just as the coronavirus pandemic was really ramping up in the United States. So we learned a lot also about how to better present online events, as well as the importance of communication between the attendees and the hosts. So I actually want to give a quick shout out to all the organizers who participated in that pilot. So if any of you are on the call today, I want to say thank you to Chulinen, Dario, Heike, Kim, Lisa, Meg, Becca, Mike, Terry, Romy, and Giv. Thank you all so much for your help. And then before we keep going, let's close that poll and check in on the responses. So the question of, have you ever made an event that looks kind of undescript? Okay, so it sounds like a lot of you haven't, which is great. So it sounds like we're all kind of on the right track here as far as understanding what details are important to share with members, so that when they look at your event page, they get a good sense of what the event will be like and can decide if they want to come. So I hope that what I share next will make it easier for you to share those details about your event. So first, everyone can take a second to read the quote that's on the screen. During the pilot that I was just talking about, we also asked a lot of members for their feedback on the new event page. And so here's one piece of feedback that was echoed by some other folks that we talked to as well. And that's that when the information like an agenda is given special real estate on the event page, members really pay attention to it. It's easy for them to skim and look for that information as opposed to maybe digging through a lot of text in the description for that information. So by reading something like this, they get a better sense of what the event will be like, which helps them decide if they're interested in going to your event. So after the pilot ended, my team felt pretty confident that we were on the right track. So we set out to improve the way that organizers schedule their events to provide all of these details. So we broke down the event scheduling process into a series of steps that cover all of your details so that you'll feel confident that when attendees arrive to your event, they'll be informed, on time, prepared, all of that good stuff. So now I want to give you a sneak peek of this new scheduling experience. So we're going to do a little live demo. So the page that I have pulled up right now is this new scheduling experience that my team has been working on. So the first thing I want to point out here is this navigation that I'm circling on the left. So this is where we've split up that one-page form into a couple different sections. And so this is so it's easy to sort of find the fields that you're looking for and fill out the information alongside the other related details. So if we start on the basics, you have the place where you can write in your title, your photo, your date and time. We've added some of these tips throughout the scheduler as well, so that Meetup can provide you with some advice or guidance as far as what we know is helpful and good to know when you want to make a successful event. So we have some examples of photos that might be good, as well as a little tip on what to include or what not to include. I'll breeze through some of these other tabs just to give you a sense of what else is here. We have here where you can fill out your location information. So regardless of whether your event is online or in person, you can share the relevant details for it. In this section here, what we'll do, this is where we have that new section that we talked about earlier, the agenda. So if your event has some kind of structure to it that you would like to share, you can now call that out specifically by typing in a few different agenda items. You can drag and drop them, add more, however many you need to give people a good sense of what to expect. You still have your description box. So if there are additional details that maybe you can't reflect in an agenda format, but you still want to share, you can still type that in here. So I might start typing in, this is my event description. Imagine it'd be a lot better if this were a real event. But something I want to call out here, one of the big feature requests that have popped up here and there across the last few years is rich text formatting in the description. And we know that this is something that Meetup used to offer in the past. And so we're starting to explore how we can bring that back. So at the moment, right now, what you can do is you can use markdown syntax to format your event description. So If you want to bold text, you can bold it. If you want to italicize text, you can italicize it. You can add a list as well. And we've added the instructions for this markdown syntax right here in this tip. So if you need to refer to any of it, you can just open and close that right there. And the good thing about the scheduler too is that you can flip over to the preview page to kind of see how your event is shaping up. So if you're not as familiar with Markdown language, for example, and you want to check to make sure that everything is showing up as you intended, you can just jump over here and you can see how it'll show up on the event page. The other thing I want to point out here is a specific area where you can call out what you're providing at the event and if there's anything that people need to bring in order to feel prepared. So you can imagine that maybe you're providing pizza or beer at the event. We know that's super popular. Or even if you're hosting a class and people need to bring their laptop or pen and paper, you'll be able to call that out in these two sections. So I want to flip over actually to an event that's more fully filled out to give you a sense of what this could feel like once you've put your real event in it. So here's a cooking class event. You can see that I've put in a really beautiful photo. I've set a date and time for it. This one's going to be in person, so I've typed in an address. The map that shows here, we're just giving you a preview of what will show to your members on the event page. Something interesting that we're doing here is actually not giving away the exact address of your event until people RSVP to it. So we know that sometimes this can be a security concern for people. You might be hosting an event at your house and you don't want that address out for the public to see. So we're now making sure that we only show it to people once they've committed to your event. I also want to show you all the agenda here. So you can see I've added quite a few agenda items. Let's say that, I was looking at this and I figured I actually want to do the demo of knife skills before we review ingredients. So I can just drag and drop that there. Maybe I decide I don't want to answer questions at the event anymore. I can just delete that agenda item. And you can see here in the description, I've done some of that same formatting that I showed earlier with the bold, the italics, and the list. I was also able to insert in a link so you can create hyperlinks in your description. As far as what people need to bring and what I'm providing, you can see that I've chosen a fun emoji here and we have so many for you to choose from, so you can add a little bit of character and personality to this section to help people see what they need to know to be prepared. And then finally here, I've written a short bio about myself. This is a good place to kind of show off why you're excited to host the event, or maybe why you would be a particularly good host. Maybe I am a professional chef and I want people to know that. I can write that here. And then finally, I can see how this is all shaping up in my preview. So I'm going to go back to our slides. So I hope that some of you out there, after seeing that demo, are wondering how you can start using the new scheduler. And if so, I want to tell you about a beta test that my team is currently running. So here is what you need to know about our beta. So the new event scheduler that I just showed all of you is ready for people to use, but it's still in its early stages. So we're looking for organizers who consider themselves quote unquote early adopters and would be interested in testing out this experience with us, providing feedback, and reporting bugs. By being in the beta, you'll also be able to connect with the other organizers that are in it. So we've actually created a Slack workspace, kind of like a chat communication tool, where you can see who else is in the beta, ask us questions, ask each other questions, learn from each other, etc. As a thank you to our beta users, we also plan to host some special events just for them. So that is pretty much my update today. I would be really excited to see any of you on this call signing up for our beta afterwards. I actually have like a specific alert set up that messages me anytime anyone signs up. So please feel free to blow up my notifications after this. The link that's shown here on this page is where you can go to give us your email address, and then we'll be in touch with you once we are ready to enroll you. So I'd like to end my presentation by doing one last poll, as promised, lots of polls. As I mentioned before, my team is still working around the clock to improve this experience and get it ready to roll out to more users beyond the beta. So to help us with that work, I'd like all of you to help me answer this question. If we could only keep one of the features listed here in this poll, which one would you keep? So kind of think about what here is the most important to you when you're scheduling your events and managing them. This is not to say that we're getting rid of everything else that you don't respond. This is more to help us prioritize what to work on first. While you're answering that poll, I want to just give a quick shout out and a thank you to all the wonderful people at Meetup who have helped to make this beta possible. This group of people has been hard at work on this since the beginning of 2020, and it feels really great to get to our beta launch right now. So I'll hand it off to Patrick now to tell you more about dark mode. Thank you.
Thanks, Alex. Can everybody hear me? Good? All right. Awesome. Oh, yeah. Hey, everybody. I'm Patrick, staff Android engineer. Very excited to be here. I've been here at Meetup for just over a year now, and I wanted to talk a bit about our apps. If you haven't updated the app recently and you're a fan of dark mode, do I have an update for you? The Android team got a bit of a head start. So what I'm showing you today is live in our Android app and right around the corner for iOS. Both of our apps have lagged at times to keep pace with features available in their respective operating systems. iOS and Android have changed dramatically over the past decade, and the team's been working hard to bring you all the modern features that you would expect. First of which is dark mode. We heard you. The app is bright and nice to look at during the day, but it can be a bit much when you're scrolling it in bed looking for the next Meetup event to attend. I personally wanted to implement dark mode since my first day, so I really could not be more excited to get this into your hands. We've been working hard to overhaul the color and style and theming for the entire app to match the best practices for both iOS and Android. We've got a working group focused on profiling the app and making accessibility improvements. We know change seems slow in the apps, and we've taken a bunch of steps towards speeding that up. We've got a new weekly release cycle. Android beta users can get the latest update on Mondays, and once we confirm things are running smooth, we start rolling it out to the rest of the community. Going forward, all the new features will be available in both light and dark color themes, including the new event home experience that Alex just showed. Over the coming months, you can expect to see a much cleaner and easier to use experience within our apps, as we focus on refining some of the main screens and our navigation. Thank you all so much for your feedback. We really are listening. We really want to make this app better for everyone. Now it's time back to Dan for some Q&A.
All right. Before we go on, Alex, do you want to pull the poll results? I can't tell how many people answered.
Oh, that's a good idea. Cindy.
Whoa. Aha.
Super interesting. Waitlist, yeah.
Thank you. By the way, we're not only going to build one of these ever. We're just thinking through how this happens. This is really useful input. So thank you for sharing. All right, I'm going to turn over to the Q&A window and take a quick look through there and see how much we can get answered in a couple minutes. If we don't answer something here, so I think I can see all your questions. I don't think all of you can see all the questions that have been asked. So I'll try to go through as many as we can. If we don't get to all of them, I will try to make sure they get posted with the blog post recording of this so that you can get an answer even if it wasn't immediate. Let me start looking. I just see Jean Ann asked a question right at the top about whether online meetups are continuing. Yes, absolutely. Online meetups are like a permanent piece of Meetup now. So we're going to continue to make those better and add them to things as we improve the platform. I think Alex and team are looking at other ways to do that, but even the new event scheduler takes online events into consideration. So they're not going anywhere. They've been incredibly useful, not just at this moment, but to help groups sort of find their footing in their incredibly local geographic reach, but then slightly wider. And I think we've talked to some groups, I've even interviewed some organizers here on Meetup Live, that it's helped them reach out with and stay connected to essentially alumni of their group, people who aren't still living in the area, but still actively want to like catch up and participate. So it's been really, it's been a great feature for, I think, for a lot of people. It's here to stay. Alex, there's a couple in here. One of them is about the agenda being required. Do you want to just handle that?
Yeah, absolutely. I saw a couple questions about what's required and what's not required in the event scheduler. So as far as the agenda right now, at least 3 items in your agenda are required. And that might sound a little scary, but let me just tell you a little bit about what we're thinking. So at Meetup, we believe that the more detail you can provide about your event and the more structure that you can give it, the better. So even events that seem kind of loose or unguided, like a happy hour or like a hangout, even those can benefit from some structure. You can imagine that you're probably going to start with some hellos and maybe do a little bit of mingling, and then you can call out when the event is over and whether people can stick around afterwards or if they should leave as soon as it ends. There's actually a really great book called The Art of Gathering by Priya Parker that a lot of Meetup employees are asked to read. We get it on our first day, but I highly recommend that for anyone who's interested in learning more about the benefit of having structure at your event. So for that reason, we are making the agenda required for now. As I saw another question about if the what's provided field is mandatory. That one is not mandatory. You can actually select that nothing is being provided, and that is totally okay.
It was just since we're on the field topic, there was one about character limits and just like if stuff can be saved between, I think bio, et cetera, be saved between events so we don't have to redo it every time.
Yes, those are really great ideas. We definitely want to get to the point where your bio can be saved between events. You don't have to type it in every time. That's one of the things that we'll be working on iterating during the beta. As far as character limits for the description, right now, there is none.
We're trying to make it, the feedback, if you're joining the beta, that feedback will be really useful as we're going through it, whether you actually want character limits or don't. I think I was talking to Thomas before in the chat about how sometimes character limits help you make sure you're being concise enough for people to get a quick read. I think we've seen that the structured data does a similar thing. So we hope that helps you think through it, but we can absolutely talk about whether that's a good thing to give you as a feature. Let's see. Oh, sorry, it's moving. So Peter asked from Switzerland. Hi, Peter. Thank you for staying up with us. You asked, is there a sort of public roadmap for organizers? And first of all, I'm sorry you don't feel the love from Meetup. First of all, you're here, so let me just say to you, we really appreciate that you're both physically here now on the Meetup Live, but also that you're doing the thing that we love the most, which is getting people together. So thank you. The love is being explicitly given now, but I think more importantly over time, the reason we don't publish a full roadmap is because it's a very living document that we change quite often. It's something that the product team talks about every single product design engineering talk about every single week and make adjustments to based on both user needs, external factors, stuff going on in the world, just everything that we need to take in as an input. And the communications around changing it very frequently are quite honestly complicated. But the thing that we want to be able to do is share with you the goals that we have and what we're trying to accomplish over time, and have you be involved in that process so we're setting the right goals for ourselves and that we're making sure we're measuring ourselves to those goals. So it's a lot of ways of saying we're doing things like this. We've started the Community Matters blog specifically so we can check in with you on the roadmap more often. And that even though we're not publishing it in its entirety, you should start to get a sense of what's coming in the weeks and months ahead. This new event experience is a large effort that's coming in the weeks and months ahead. Somebody had asked about, try to find the name in here, but about some pages still look old, like they're in the old style from before 2017, and some have moved on. Part of what we're doing now, actually, and to be explicit about the roadmap for the next several months, one of our goals is to unify the site, bring that all back together, and start to consolidate and unify Meetup into not just one look and feel, but one core set of functionality that really works fantastically for everybody. So I know it's not an exact answer. The answer directly to your question is we're not going to publish a long-term roadmap in the near future. However, the reason we're trying to do more frequent check-ins with you and everybody is so that we can give you an idea of what's coming, so it's not a shock, so you can provide us feedback as we do it. And then therefore we can change the roadmap if we hear enough feedback that something is important differently than we assumed. So please stay in touch. If there are other things that I or any of us here can do to essentially show the love, but show that we're hearing you and that we're trying to make Meetup, and we hopefully are making Meetup better for you, let us know. Comments here are great. You can subscribe to the newsletter. You can reply to that. You can write the support team. They'll forward it to me. So feel free to keep it coming. Let's see. There's an anonymous attendee who said, will the Stripe payment feature still be a part of the beta testing? Alex, you probably are best to answer that. It's a sort of complicated answer, but you can answer.
Exactly. It's a sort of complicated answer. So if you happen to be part of our pilot in the earlier part of 2020, we were testing out a different payment system called Stripe, and we're allowing organizers to charge tickets to their events using that system. That is not something that we are testing right now as part of this beta, but it is definitely possible that we'll revisit it in the future.
Yeah, we're pretty focused on bringing certain core features to folks. Event ticketing is definitely on our list. That's one of those where I'm not entirely sure the exact time that'll work out in, but it has not been forgotten. It won't go away. It's coming soon. Someone, let's see, where was it? It was Paul. Paul asked, is it true that the mobile teams are moving to a shared React Native code base? That's a super interesting question because it's very, very specific, but I just want to answer it. The quick answer is no. We have toyed with React Native for certain things that we do in specific pieces, but the quick answer to the larger question is no. And for those who don't know what React Native is, don't worry. Paul, if you want to write us a note because you want to know more about that from a tech perspective, I'll post my email address here. You can shoot me a note, or yeah, Patrick, one of us will talk more about it. There's a lot of fun stuff to talk about in there. I like it, but yeah, who knows? Stripe payment feature. I'm going through and trying to make sure I mark what I'm answering. I hope that works. Oh my gosh, Esther, you just asked my favorite question of the day. Great job, guys, from a fellow designer. Thanks. I would love to ask, are you planning to improve communication methods with members? So far, it's been quite difficult to retain members and to make them maintain their RSVP promise. They tend not to update it in case they don't want to join anymore. So another thing that is coming that is on the roadmap in the near future is a holistic look and strategic changes to our communication tools. In case you didn't know, Meetup offers you like roughly 5 different ways to email your members. You probably don't know where 3 or 4 of them are. They all do slightly different things that overlap and are better or more effective at very specific things, but it's confusing for organizers for us to support. And there's really no great reason why like one email tool can't do that better for you. Another example would be event comments. Event comments work fantastically for some things, but can get noisy for other things. Why you don't always have a choice about how you communicate with people or transparency into how that communication lands. So what we're really looking at is how do we provide you as an organizer a better way to both communicate with and understand that communication network with your members so that Meetup can actually help amplify your message and that you can understand who's heard it and how you need to respond to that. So the big answer to your question, Esther, is yes. Like we're absolutely focused on that, and that should be something you're seeing in certainly months, not years, but like months, not even a half a year. Sort of the same as how we're rolling out the event scheduling features that will come out in small pieces, likely for certain groups first, and then begin to roll out to more and more of Meetup as we realize we've done the right thing. But communication across the platform needs some love. So the quick answer is yes. Oh, Labyrinth Live, I can't see where your question went, but Labyrinth Live asked, will there be a way to schedule a meeting with no time that can be scheduled upon request? Alex, your team kind of touched on this with very long, like multi-day events. So I guess my quick answer is yes, we're looking at different event formats where time means something different. It's deceivingly not simple. That's my quick answer. It's important to us. The pandemic made us realize how useful it would be to have like a multi-day scavenger hunt. An organizer, Nina, who runs Bull City Beer Run, I think, Beer Runners, was talking about how she did a scavenger hunt that lasted a week. And it was hard to make a week-long event make sense and work correctly. I think I would guess you're in the same boat. Like, can I just create a thing and have it just exist for a while? We're looking at that. Part of the thing that we'd love your help on and all of your help on is when you want to create those and what you're looking for in that experience for your members. Meetup is here to help make sure the best people come to you who are the right fit for the group and for the event. And for the members, we're trying to make sure they find the thing that's best for them, most engaging, interesting, et cetera. So we have to make sure we understand what the time means in that. It's super clear when it's like an hour, does it fit on your schedule? But when it's like a week, the question is it a week that involves an hour of actual time? Do people actually get together at certain times? So we need to work on that a little bit more. But yes, we absolutely anticipate that we'll be adding more event types, durations, et cetera in the future. And this is, by the way, where feedback is fantastic. Again, through the blog, I think there's ways in the support articles to contact us. You can always contact support with product feedback. Please do. It does get to us. We read it, and then we take it into consideration as we figure out how and when we're shaping our features. Someone I don't know how to pronounce your name. It's either Sharir or Sharar. I'm not Sharar. I'm not sure. But you asked about WePay. I'm sorry for butchering your name. Is WePay going to be replaced for Meetup? The answer is, I believe eventually. We haven't fully spec'd out that whole thing, but the intention was to replace WePay largely with Stripe or another payment provider. But who processes the payment is a little bit less important, I think, than making that transaction seamless and easy for your users. So that's really what we're focused on. If we end up choosing another payment provider, or if WePay ends up being able to provide that functionality, it's fine. But I think right now, the fact that you know it's WePay is the thing I'm trying to help our customers get around. You shouldn't really need to know that. You should just say, I want to charge an event fee, or I want to charge dues, and then have it be magical, because that's why you come to Meetup. That's what you were asking us for. Thank you for asking so many questions, by the way. It's really amazing to scroll through these and see. I will read every single one, even if I don't get to it now. So thank you just for answering, for asking.
Dan, I saw one question from Labyrinth Live asking, will the new format transfer existing events, or will they need to be recreated or adjusted after the conversion? So it's a super good question.
It's a great question.
Yes, very good question. So right now for our beta users, so if you were to join now or maybe in the next couple weeks, you would probably have to recreate them, unfortunately. But we are building towards the point where when we do convert more folks, their events will just be shifted in the back end. So events that you have created previously will just magically appear in the new format. We're not there yet, to be honest with you, but it's definitely coming.
Yeah, the intent is to make it, so as we launch larger changes like this, I think the thing I want to stress with everyone is it's not one size fits all. Each of you has a unique group and a unique community and a unique style of leading that. And so our intent is to support as many of those as humanly possible. And we think that the tools will generally serve most people most of the time. We both want to understand where they won't work before we honestly ask you to, or even make you use something. And the intent is actually not to have you have to use something that's not useful to you. So in general, as we roll out new features, our approach will be to run it with smaller groups, see where the problems are, make some changes, see if we open it up to more people, how that goes. By the time most people are accessing these features, stuff like migration path from the existing to the new thing will either hopefully have been worked out in the transition, or will have very clear instructions. But there are so many amazing events in your history on Meetup. I cannot foresee a place where we wouldn't make those sort of available for viewing forever. And especially in the interim, we're looking at ways to solve that right now. So as Alex said, this isn't probably something you'll actually run into. If you were to join the beta today, you would be talking to literally Alex or her team to help you walk through that process. Especially in the beta, you're going to be dealing directly with our team. So it should be seamless. And if it's not, you can say, this is too hard for me. And we'll say, okay, don't worry about it. We'll get you later. There's a question, Stephen Johnson, you asked a question I want to answer because it's been on the top of my mind, because we've been forgetting it in this moment of Zoom, which is, will address support latlong for hiking events? We often go to trailheads at the beginning of a dirt road with no street address. Yes. So Meetup has done a pretty good job, I think, of supporting moving a map pin to basically let you say where you're meeting. I don't think we've gotten to that yet, Alex. I don't believe we have. We're still using like location specific things. We will go back to that. Outdoor groups are such a phenomenal part of what makes Meetup great. And like outdoor and sports, specifically like hiking is a great one, mountain biking, like we have skiing. There's places where what you're saying is a great use case. We will not move on without you. But that's a great example of, we haven't done that yet, so we wouldn't ask you to use this new thing. And if you came into it and said, hey, you're missing this feature, we might say to you, that's coming, can you survive without it? Or do you want to go back before you keep going forward? So thank you for bringing that up. It's a use case we see a lot, and it's something we'll definitely support in the future on the beta. Obviously, we do support that now. Gwen had asked for an example of the agenda part. I think there's an example in the blog entry. I can't remember if there's a screenshot. If you go to meetup.com/blog, one of the more recent articles on there is about the new way to schedule events, Gwen, and you can take a look there. I'm just typing in the answer, meetup.com/blog. So it's typed somewhere, but I'll try to find the exact URL for you later. Stephen Johnson also asked about the new event system. Is it going to allow us to include multiple photos, graphics? Our most appealing initiatives include multiples. Yeah, Alex, you can probably speak. We've done a lot of research on this, and Alex knows a lot about it.
Yes, no, I'm so glad you asked that. I think I saw it show up in the Q&A in another one too. So right now it's one photo only, but we are definitely looking towards making more photos available and videos too. So if you want to upload like multiple featured photos for your event, maybe also throw in a video because you think that would better sort of capture what your event is going to be like. We want to make that possible in the future.
Another, Dale, you asked a question. It's just interesting. I wanted to, we can write about it offline some more, but just to share it with the room, which is some of my Meetup members insist they can't join Zoom meetings with the link that Meetup sends. They say they need their Zoom meeting ID and the password, even though I've set up it to embed into the info into the link. So I've been actually using Zoom a ton, obviously, for work and for other purposes. I used it for Father's Day last weekend. There's some intricacy with Zoom about your meeting requirements specifically, and whether you're requiring them to basically log into Zoom before they can log into your meeting, regardless of if they belong or pay or anything like that. So I don't know if this fits that. What Meetup does with the link is literally like, just we hold it until they RSVP and then we send whatever you put in that field. I don't believe we do any transformation on that. I'll go look. But I haven't seen a problem with that across the board. So I'm fairly certain that's not us doing anything weird to the link. I will go look into that personally. I'll just go do it on my group and see what happens. But aside from that, I would just say, I think on Zoom, there's an article about like in the setting up events about whether you like require registration. I think that's what they call the option, or they might've changed it in version 5, but that could be what's happening. I'm not entirely sure. That's a tough one where I'm fairly certain Meetup is not doing anything to the link. So I think this is actually a Zoom issue, or like how they have Zoom open as a client on their machine. But sorry, I don't have a perfect answer for that. I haven't seen reports of that. We have like something like over 40% of our online events are held using Zoom. So we actually usually get a pretty quick answer if something's wrong with our integration with it, because we can see lots of people say something quickly. So I have not seen this one. Doesn't mean you're alone. It just means I haven't seen it as a trend. Let us see. And this is amazing. Thank you again for all of these questions. Oh, there's a question about some meetups die. I think Terrell, you asked this. Some meetups die and thus others try to absorb the former meetups. Is there a 2 meetup group merger function possible or something future for admins? We have to strike this really delicate balance with our trust and safety and maintaining the integrity of a group and making sure that people don't, in short, like usurp a group or maliciously try to take it over if someone steps down. I think we do our best to balance the safety of those group members with the ability to do stuff like what you're saying. It is certainly not off the table. It's not on our near-term roadmap, but we are looking at better ways for groups to work with each other to actually host events together and to try to form like more symbiotic relationships so that it could possibly be easier for you to essentially, like while you're working with another group, both of your groups are actually growing to include the other group's members so that the group member knows what's happening, is transparently moving. I'm not sure if that will directly address the problem. I absolutely hear your request. There's some other things that are, you even, I think, acknowledged like this might be complicated. I just want to explain the complication there is that trying to balance the transparency for the members of what's happening to their membership, along with the protection of that original group is a very tricky balance. And we try to be not heavy-handed, but just have very clean and straight up rules. So this is one that trips on the rule a little bit, but it's come up a few times, that and sort of like reassuming old groups, and like there's other group-to-group functions that are built into that. So it's not being ignored. It isn't super high on the immediate list. So it's not something like I would expect in the next couple of months, but if you want to write us with some more information and specific examples, it would be useful so we could take a look at those groups and see if there's something we can help with. So thank you for asking. Oh, hey, Jamie Morris, thanks. I'm wondering about Patrick, Alex, Dan. How many meetup groups do you personally organize? I'll just start because I've been talking for so damn long, then I'll be quiet, which is gonna be great. I have 2 groups. One is actually active and one is not. One of the groups, the one that's active, I moved from somewhere else onto Meetup, and it's been going okay, but we've only done 2 or 3 virtual meetups, largely because of my schedule, like meetup events. So that's on me, but the answer is 2. Alex, Patrick?
I can go. I am just the organizer of an internal meetup group. It's called Meetup Dancers. We haven't met up in a while, but take classes and, you know, go out to salsa dancing and things like that.
Yeah, I'm the oddball out. I actually am not an organizer, believe it or not, but I'm in a fairly remote area. I work remotely, but a fun fact about one that I do go to and have gone to was the first time I went, I met Anise Davis, who is currently the engineering director of the mobile team. So it's
Worked out well.
Yeah, it worked out.
Side note, I think I should do a poll actually to tell you what % of the company is currently organizer versus just member. It's a pretty decent ratio, but I'm curious if it's the same as like the general meetup populace. If it's like 10% are organizers, 90% are members. I'm actually not sure. So now I'm just going to go check because I think that's interesting. We have time for a few more questions. Again, if we don't get to them, we will try to answer as many as possible in the blog article. If we don't get to for some reason there and you need help, you can absolutely email support. I apologize to my support team who's going to be like, why are all these people emailing me? But they're really good. I actually just got an email today from our trust and safety team. It's like, this seems like a product question. Here you go. It will find us. Our product team is not giant size. It's all wonderful real people like Alex and Patrick who are building great stuff. So if you write us, we will actually read to it. I don't believe I have ever not responded to a member email or message in Meetup, the Meetup app. So if you message me in the Meetup app, I will also respond to you. We love the feedback. Please keep it coming. Thanks, Tom, for the yes, yes, yes. Please merge groups. How long does it work on? Hold on a second. I'm trying to figure out what. Oh, yeah. Raquel Marin, you asked for organizers with multiple groups. Can you add the functionality to post the same event in all groups at one time? It's part of Meetup Pro, but it's expensive. We only need that function. Yeah, so two big things. We're working really closely with the Pro team to help make sure that the right functionality that is currently only in Pro, if there's a reason that you should be able to get that a la carte, we haven't figured out if we can ever do that, but we're talking about it because we have power organizers where Pro doesn't quite make sense. So we're trying to figure that out. I don't know what to promise there other than we've really been talking seriously, and that team is fully integrated into our product team. So it's been a really wonderful working relationship. As Pro is growing, so is Meetup Core. The real answer to that other question is, yeah, our ambition is in the new platform to make that a reality, because I think I've already seen multiple use cases of that in the wild. And right now it's manually reposting events, and it actually makes it confusing. It's harder to organize, and it's actually harder for Meetup to see the great stuff happening on Meetup. So it is our intent to do that in the relative short term, like months. I don't entirely know where that will land, but we are looking at that pretty seriously. We haven't figured out if that is exactly how we're going to implement it, but to get to what you said, to make it easier for an organizer to host an event across groups is a goal of ours. All right, let's find one more. Alex, Patrick, anything here that I'm missing? I'm scrolling as fast as I can.
So one thing I wanted to add sort of in response to the question about like how many of us are Meetup organizers, I think there are a good number of employees that are Meetup organizers and go to a lot of Meetup events. But the other thing that we do is we are always reaching out to organizers and members to learn from you directly. So if you ever receive an email from our research team asking you if you want to fill out a survey or participate in an interview, I highly, highly recommend you take the opportunity to do that, because it is sort of, you know, your chance to talk directly to someone at Meetup and let us know what you think and provide feedback on stuff that we're working on. So that's a great place where we learn a lot about our users.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great, I feel like that's a good, since we can't answer everything for real, we do reach out quite often to large sections of organizers and members to try to learn more. So you can always provide that unprompted. If you get an email from research at Meetup, that's a real person. It could be any one of us. It could be Carmen, our amazing US researcher. So feel free to respond. They don't take a lot of time, and it really does provide us with great insights and gives you a way to help explain your experience with Meetup. So thank you all so much. We will continue doing these. If there's ways we can help you connect better with Meetup, with the organizers, please let us know, write to us, and we'll see you all soon. Thank you so much.